We were off the coast of Florida when it happened. Late evening, second night of the cruise. The sun already swallowed by the horizon. The ocean dark and endless on all sides. The ship cut through it like it owned the water. Lights from the upper decks shimmered across the surface. Soft jazz played over the speakers, and everything, on the surface, looked like peace. We were seated in the main dining hall, formal night. Tuxedos and dresses. Waitstaff in white gloves. Silverware I had paid for but never needed. The table was set for 8, even though we were just 3, me, Melissa, and her son, Evan. She looked radiant. Always did when she wasn't trying. Strapless navy dress, hair pinned up, pearl earrings. The kind of beauty that doesn't require attention because it's already earned it. Evan was in a blazer I'd bought him last fall. He'd rolled the sleeves slightly, like he was above the code. At 17, he had mastered the art of looking both bored and smug. Chin up, mouth slightly open. That permanent look of amused contempt teenagers wear like armor. He'd grown into his father's face. Same jawline, same careless grin. Different man, same ghost. I was invisible in my own seat. Again. The chair no one asked to pull out, the presence no one acknowledged unless the check arrived. The waiter brought out dessert, 3 plates of chocolate mousse with dark cherry drizzle. Melissa smiled, murmured a thank you. Evan didn't. He dug in, then looked around the table like he was performing, like the cruise had become his stage. Then he said it, loud enough for the next 2 tables to hear, probably louder. He's not really family. He's just a guest. Our real dad's joining us later. It landed like a G*NSH*T in a quiet church. First silence. Then the laughter. Not just from strangers. From the couple behind me. From Melissa's sister, seated at the adjacent table with her husband. Nervous laughter. Then indulgent. Then genuine. A real laugh at my expense. I turned my head slightly. Looked at Melissa. She didn't scold him. Didn't blink. She just brushed it off. Smiled like it was harmless. Her hand touched her wine glass delicately, and she said, "Evan?" in that soft, parental voice meant to redirect, not reprimand. Then she took a sip and changed the subject. I sat still, fork idle on the linen napkin. My chest had gone cold, but my hands didn't shake. Not yet. I watched Evan smirk into his dessert. He didn't even look at me, just kept eating like nothing had happened. Like I wasn't there. That's when I realized I wasn't. I was a background prop. Passenger. Someone invited but not counted. Someone tolerated because I footed the bill, but not respected enough to deserve a defense. That's what landed hardest. Not Evan's joke, cruel as it was, but Melissa's silence. Her practiced dismissal. The way she protected the moment instead of the man who gave her this vacation. Who gave them all of this. It wasn't sarcasm. It wasn't teenage rebellion. It was a position, a worldview, and I had paid for it. I didn't speak for the rest of dinner. Just nodded when the waiter asked if I wanted coffee. I didn't want it. I wanted to disappear. But I took it anyway, because I didn't want them to see it had landed. Evan had resumed talking about some excursion he wanted to do tomorrow. A jet ski tour. He turned to Melissa. "Can we book it?" They said there's a private version with no group. Just us. Not can we afford it. Not is it too much. Just can we. As if it was a matter of scheduling. As if someone me hadn't already upgraded their room, paid for the full excursion package, and prepaid gratuities. Melissa said she'd check. Not a glance at me. Not even a hint of ask your stepfather. The same man who filled out every online form, who sat through 2 hours of travel agent calls to make sure Evan had an ocean view. The man who spent weeks researching cruises with teen-friendly itineraries because he needs to unplug. I was unplugged. By the time we left the table, Evan had already peeled off to go check out the teen lounge. A club I'd personally insured was included in the premium youth experience plan. Melissa walked with me back to the elevator. Her hand never touched mine. She talked about the wine list. I said nothing. Back in the cabin, I stood in the mirror and looked at myself. Formal jacket still on. Bow tie undone. Shirt collar slightly wrinkled from the weight of the night. I looked like a man dressed for a role he hadn't been cast in. Melissa was in the bathroom brushing her teeth. The TV played softly, a documentary about dolphins. I sat down at the desk and opened my laptop. The Wi-Fi package I'd paid for, the unlimited one, naturally connected automatically. I opened the cruise dashboard. Reservations, payments, excursions. Everything was there. Evan's name on the guest list. My card on the account. My email on the confirmation page. Every detail had been handled by me. Every signature. Every upgrade. From the priority boarding to the balcony cabin. From the spa credits to the snorkeling tour. It was all mine. And yet I had been laughed at. In public. On a ship I bought a quarter share of with one click of a mouse. I scrolled through the itinerary again. Every day another gift. And they had given me nothing but silence. And a joke. A joke that reduced me to a temporary guest. I closed the laptop and stared at the closed bathroom door. When Melissa came out, she smiled like nothing had happened. She asked if I wanted to check out the deck. I said I was tired. She didn't press. She slipped under the covers. I stayed in the chair a while longer, staring at the water through the balcony window. The moon cast silver over the waves, and for a moment, I imagined myself floating alone out there. No ship beneath me, no family behind me, just drift. She asked, half asleep, "Did you have fun tonight?" I said, "Sure." But what I wanted to say was, "Do you know what it feels like to pay for a seat at your own execution?" I lay in bed beside her that night, the ceiling above me swaying ever so slightly with the motion of the sea. I didn't touch her. She didn't reach for me. It was a silence we both understood. Somewhere above us, Evan was asleep in his upgraded suite, watching a movie, maybe, scrolling through messages, laughing again. I closed my eyes and saw the dining room again, heard the laughter, felt the cold confirmation of what I'd long suspected, that I wasn't building a family. I was financing one, that I wasn't a father. I was a balance sheet, and that my presence could be erased in a single sentence. Laughed at, tolerated, discarded. But I had names. I had bookings. I had numbers. Tomorrow I would start changing the terms. I didn't explode, didn't shout, didn't raise a glass or hurl a plate across the cabin like some wounded caricature of a man who thought he was loved. I didn't need noise. Silence is sharper. I woke before dawn. Melissa was still asleep, her back to me. The blanket pulled up over one shoulder, rising and falling with slow, even breaths. She didn't stir when I slipped out of bed, didn't notice when I grabbed the laptop, didn't hear the soft creak of the balcony door opening as I stepped out into the breeze. The ship cut steadily through the water. The horizon glowed faintly, a weak promise of morning. But I wasn't interested in the sunrise. I was interested in the systems behind the illusion. I logged in. The cruise's guest portal was seamless. Everything I had purchased, every tier, every room, every upgrade was listed under my name. Melissa and Evan were listed as linked guests. That's how they do it. One credit card, multiple beneficiaries. They hadn't paid for a single thing. Not one. I reviewed the excursions first. Jet skis, snorkeling, a dolphin swim, all booked under the premier excursion tier, the most expensive package offered. I remembered Melissa's words when I bought it. He's only 17 once, right? Once, but apparently for long enough to learn that other people pay so he doesn't have to ask. Next, the dining plan. We had the Platinum Gourmet experience. Specialty restaurants every night, private seating, sommelier recommendations. Not one of them had thanked me for a single meal. I clicked on Evan's account. There it was, his room key access. He'd charged snacks to the room. Ordered room service at 2 a.m. Rented a movie. Booked time in the ship's VR arcade. All without blinking. I stared at the screen. And then I started. I didn't cancel anything. That would have been too obvious. Too dramatic. What I did was subtler. Quieter. A removal of air instead of a strike. First, I unlinked Evan's name from my card. Not a full block, just a reassignment. I replaced my card with Melissa's. The system allowed it without confirmation. After all, she was listed as his legal guardian. Next, I adjusted the dining access. No more specialty restaurants for linked guests. Only the basic buffet, the kind with plastic trays and prepackaged butter. My own access, of course, remained untouched. Let them wonder why their reservations disappeared. Then the excursions. I didn't delete them. I modified them, changed the participants from family to primary guest only. That was me. I added a polite note requesting solo equipment. No group size needed. No companions. Just me. Finally, I navigated to the onboard spending tab. A quick toggle. Spending limit for Evan, $0. Took 12 minutes. When I was done, I closed the laptop and exhaled. Not out of satisfaction, but out of relief. The kind of breath that comes after holding in pain for so long it starts to feel like a second heartbeat. I sat in the stillness a while longer. The breeze pulled at my shirt. Below me, the pool deck was empty. Chairs waiting, water still. The ocean stretched into nothingness. And for once, it didn't feel lonely. Felt honest. When I returned to the room, Melissa was stirring. She blinked at me, half awake, voice soft. "You're up early." I nodded. "Couldn't sleep." She smiled sleepily, then rolled over, as if everything were fine, as if we hadn't crossed a line the night before we couldn't return from. I didn't answer, just moved past her, into the bathroom, and let the door click softly shut behind me. By the time we met Evan for breakfast, the first crack had formed. He was already seated at the buffet, a tray in front of him, half filled with eggs and a soggy waffle. His expression was a blend of confusion and mild irritation. "They said our dinner reservations got messed up," he said, poking at the food. "Like, they're just gone. The steak place. And the French one." Melissa frowned. "That's weird." I said nothing. He glanced at me. "Did you change anything?" I shrugged. "Just made some updates." "What kind of updates?" "Minor ones. Nothing you need to worry about." He didn't push. Not yet. But I could see it, the flicker of unease. He wasn't used to being told no. Wasn't used to being questioned. Wasn't used to having anything he touched pulled out from under him. Melissa glanced at me once, then returned to her plate. I could see her trying to assess my mood, trying to decide if I was just tired or brewing something bigger. But I gave her nothing. Just calm. Just silence. By mid-morning, the next tremor arrived. A ship staff member approached us near the pool. Polite, professional, apologetic. She addressed Melissa with a clipboard in hand. "Mrs. Grayson, I'm sorry to interrupt. We've had a small issue with the payment method linked to your account. It appears some of the privileges under your guest profile need confirmation. Would you mind stopping by the concierge desk?" Melissa blinked. "Privileges?" "Yes. Room service access, premium dining, and excursion attendance. It's likely just a reassignment error. If we can verify a new card, we'll restore everything." Melissa glanced at me. Her smile faltered. "I thought, weren't all of those already covered?" The staff member nodded. "They were, but the account settings have been recently updated. If we can just confirm." "I'll take care of it," I said. The woman thanked me and moved on. Melissa turned to me once the staff was out of **T. "Did you change something?" "I did." "Why?" "I thought it was time we redefined who's paying for what." She didn't answer. Just looked at me like she didn't recognize the man sitting beside her. Maybe she didn't. Evan showed up 20 minutes later, agitated. "They said my arcade card's not working. Like, at all." I tried to scan in and it just buzzed red. Said to talk to guest services. I nodded. "Must have hit your spending limit." "My what?" "Your limit." I adjusted it. He stared at me, mouth slightly open, then scoffed. "Seriously?" I didn't smile. "Very. Why would you do that?" I looked him dead in the eye. "Because I'm just a guest." He blinked. The words hit. I saw it. Not all the way, not yet, but enough to start the shift. Melissa's lips parted, a protest on the edge of forming, but I held up a hand. She closed her mouth. Evan turned, stormed off toward the guest services desk. Melissa watched him go, then turned back to me. You're making a scene without making a scene. No, I said. I'm changing the terms. This isn't how families solve problems. We're not a family, I said. Remember? I was told that. By him. In front of you. And you said nothing. She flinched. I've paid for the illusion long enough, I said. You can keep pretending. I won't stop you. But the cruise ends in 4 days. The free ride ended last night. By late morning, the ship was fully awake. Children screamed by the pool. Couples wandered the upper decks with cameras and cocktails. Staff moved like clockwork. Towels folded. Menus rotated. Decks scrubbed. The illusion of paradise was maintained with precision. But below the surface, something shifted. They noticed it in pieces. One by one. Quietly. Like lights going out across a city grid. Melissa returned from the concierge desk before lunch. She didn't speak at first. She walked stiffly beside me on the promenade. Sunglasses hiding her eyes. Fingers gripping her purse too tightly. What did you tell them? She finally asked. Who? The staff. The concierge. I told them the truth. Which was? That I'm not covering anything beyond myself anymore. She stopped walking. You didn't even talk to me about it. No, I said. I didn't. We're in the middle of the ocean. I know exactly where we are. She stared at me, waiting for something. An explanation, an apology, a softening. I gave her none. You can't just shut everything down in the middle of a trip. I didn't shut it down. I redirected it. To you. To the person responsible. Her mouth opened, then closed. She didn't follow me back to the cabin. By mid-afternoon, Evan was pacing the hallway outside our door. He knocked once, then louder, then finally burst in without waiting for an answer. This is insane, he said. I looked up from my book. What is? I just tried to book the jet ski thing. They said my account's flagged. Not flagged, I said. Edited. They told me it was paid. They said it was covered. It was, I said. Then you told a table of strangers I was just a guest. So now I'm acting like one. His face twisted. It was a joke. No, I said, setting the book down. It was a revelation. You don't joke like that unless you believe it. You wanted the world to know I don't matter. So I decided to show you what that world looks like. He stood there, jaw tight, hands clenched. You're overreacting. I stood. Slowly. Am I? I didn't mean it like that. Didn't you? Because I've played that dinner back in my mind a dozen times. You said I wasn't family. You said your real dad was coming. Melissa laughed. You laughed. No one corrected you. No one defended me. So now I'm stepping into the role you assign me. A guest. His eyes darted around the room. So what now? I just don't get to do anything? You'll do what any guest does. Pay your way. Or sit things out. I don't have money for this stuff. That's not my concern. You're seriously just abandoning me in the middle of the ocean? I'm not abandoning anyone, I said. I'm offering a lesson. You said I wasn't your father. That means I'm not responsible for your comfort, or your fun, or your embarrassment. He stared at me, mouth agape, trying to find a foothold. There wasn't one. Then the dagger landed. My real dad would never do this. I laughed. Not loud, not cruel, just tired. A sound that came from someplace deep and old. Your real dad didn't even show up. He froze. You dropped his name like a shield at dinner. Promised he was joining us. Did you even believe that? Did you actually think he'd appear? Or were you just trying to push me out of the frame one last time? His face burned. You don't know anything about him. I know he's not here. I know he's never here. I know you invoke him when it's convenient and forget him when the bills come due. And I know I was the one who paid for every backpack, every school form, every cavity filling, every phone, every streaming subscription, every piece of your life. But that never mattered to you, did it? You had your hierarchy. He took a step back. So that's it? You're done? No, I said. I'm just beginning. I walked past him and out the door. He didn't follow. Later that evening, I received a call on the cabin phone. Melissa's voice was clipped. Evan tried to sign up for the glass-bottom boat tour. They told him his privileges were revoked. He's embarrassed. I waited. Did you do that too? Yes. A pause. They're asking me to verify a payment method. I had to use my card. I know. I wasn't prepared for this. You didn't prepare for the truth. Why start now? She was quiet. Then, he's your stepson. And I treated him like a son. For 5 years. But now I'm treating him like someone who told me I don't belong. I'm just following his lead. You could have talked to me. You could have spoken up for me. At that table. You didn't. And I'm not interested in posthumous advocacy. I hung up. I took no pleasure in it. This wasn't revenge. It wasn't cruelty. It was clarity. After dinner, I returned to the lounge. Alone. Ordered a drink. Charged it to my own tab. Sat on the balcony and watched the waves roll past like slow thunder. Behind me I heard murmurs. A boy younger than Evan. Telling his parents about a video game tournament on deck 4. They laughed, said they'd check it out. I felt a pang I couldn't name. Maybe it was jealousy. Or mourning. Or just fatigue. But it passed. When I returned to the cabin that night, Melissa was waiting. Not angry. Not crying. Just still. You made your point, she said. I didn't do it to make a point. Then why? I did it to find the bottom. To see where the love ends and the money begins. She looked away. I always thought we were surviving, she said quietly. Doing the best we could. We were surviving, I said. But I was the only one treading water. You were floating on my back. That landed. She looked older suddenly. Her face drawn. Her shoulders heavier. I don't know what to say. Then say nothing. That's what you've been doing. She didn't speak again. The next day, Melissa and Evan were missing at breakfast. I ate alone. Took my time. Read a paper menu while sipping bitter coffee. When I returned to the cabin, there was a note tucked under the door. We'll be at the pool. Please don't make this worse. I smiled at the wording. I was making it worse. Not the boy who humiliated me. Not the woman who pretended it hadn't happened. Me, the man who finally stopped paying for his own degradation. I folded the note in half. Tossed it in the bin. That afternoon I visited the spa. The reservation was still mine. They offered tea. Hot stones. A quiet room where no one asked for anything. It was the first hour of real peace I'd had in years. By the time I returned to the cabin, I'd made another decision. I opened the cruise portal. Reviewed my travel preferences. Then I requested an early disembarkation. We were docking in Key West the next morning. A scheduled stop. Most passengers would return to the ship by evening. I wouldn't. I found a return flight to the mainland. Booked it. 1 seat. No luggage check. Then I wrote a letter. Not to Evan. He didn't deserve that. To Melissa. It was brief. Plain. Honest. I left it on the desk. Melissa, you told me with your silence who matters most. Evan told me with his words who I am to him. Neither of you lied. But neither of you expected me to believe it. I believe it now. I'm getting off tomorrow. Don't follow. Don't call. You'll make it back without me. You always did. I packed a single bag. Clothes, passport, wallet. Left the rest behind. The sea was calm that night. The stars invisible through the humidity. The ship creaked and shifted, still massive, still steady, but it felt hollow. Like a carcass. A vacation wearing a smile. I didn't sleep much, but I wasn't tired. I was up before the sun. The ship was already drifting toward port. The Key West skyline rising slowly in the distance. Low buildings. Palm trees. Flat light. It didn't look like an escape. It looked like a way out. I dressed slowly. Collared shirt. Dark jeans. The kind of clothes that look forgettable in a crowd. I zipped the carry-on and paused at the cabin door. Melissa was still asleep. Or pretending. Her body faced the window. Hair spread across the pillow like she belonged in another world. I didn't say goodbye. I left the letter on the desk. My name at the bottom. Just the initial. It was all that remained of me in that room. No confrontation. No argument. Just subtraction. The cleanest kind of exit. The crew was efficient. I'd already arranged the details: early disembarkation, solo transport, airport shuttle. No questions asked. They scanned my card, verified my ID, and led me down a ramp slick with morning dew. The sun was climbing when I stepped off the ship. I didn't look back. A cab waited near the dock. The driver didn't speak, just nodded, took my bag, and pulled away from the terminal. As we turned onto the main road, I caught a last glimpse of the cruise ship in the rearview mirror. Towering, clean, bright. It looked like something built to house dreams. But for me, it had become a mausoleum. In the silence of the car, I thought of Evan. Still asleep, maybe, or wandering the breakfast buffet, wondering why his room key wouldn't scan, why the chocolate chip pancakes weren't on his plate. Maybe he'd find the letter. Maybe not. He'd ask Melissa where I was. She'd lie, or stammer, or say nothing. Her usual answer. And Evan would pretend he didn't care. Until the ship pulled back from shore and he realized I wasn't on it. Until the concierge desk mentioned the unpaid balance. Until the excursions were canceled again, and this time no one stepped in. That's when the truth would land. I arrived at the airport early, sat near a window and watched planes taxi back and forth like ants on a sun-bleached runway. I felt nothing. No regret. No relief. Just release. People talk about freedom like it's this grand revelation. An open road, a new sunrise, a second chance. That's not what it felt like. It felt like setting down a heavy bag I'd carried for too long. A quiet severing. A silence that didn't demand to be filled. The plane boarded on time. A middle seat. No fanfare. I landed back home before nightfall. The house was empty. Melissa had left lights on, timers probably. The living room lamp blinked softly against the dusk. The couch still had throw pillows arranged in that useless, decorative way she preferred. Everything smelled faintly like citrus cleaner and resignation. I dropped the bag at the door, sat down, exhaled. No calls came. Not the first night. Not the second. Not from Melissa. Not from Evan. By the third day, I checked the cruise itinerary. They would have docked again by then. Likely back in Florida or already on their way to the final port. I imagined the tone of the trip shifting, the excursions denied, the stateroom charges piling up, the real father still nowhere to be found. I pictured Evan at the concierge desk, demanding answers, demanding access, demanding something he'd never paid for and no longer understood how to ask for. I pictured Melissa beside him, tired, embarrassed, watching her son learn, slowly, what I had always known. That silence costs, that disrespect accrues interest, that no one carries you forever. By the end of the week, the messages began. Not from Evan. He didn't have the courage. From Melissa. First was a missed call, then a voicemail. Stiff, careful, as if testing the air. Hey, just calling to see if you're all right. We're back in a few days. Evan's a bit shaken. Call me. I didn't. The next day, a text. The hotel is charging extra. They say we never paid for some of the transfers. Was that intentional? Yes. Another call. This time, a longer voicemail. I think we should talk. Evan's confused. He didn't mean what he said at dinner. He's young. You know how teenagers are. Please call me back. Still, I didn't. What was left to say? I'd spoken clearly, not in words, but in action. That was the only language this family ever truly responded to. Not lectures. Not apologies. Money. Access. Structure. And now, the removal of it. 3 days after they returned home, I came back from a walk and found Melissa waiting in the driveway. Alone. She stood by her car, arms crossed, like she was holding herself together. I didn't invite her in. I didn't speak. She walked toward me slowly. Michael, she said. Please. Her voice cracked. I looked at her. Not with anger. Not with love. Just distance. The kind you can't bridge with tears. You left us, she said. I said nothing. You didn't even say goodbye. You didn't say anything at all. Dinner. When it happened. He's a kid. He's 17. Old enough to we *p***nice truth. She looked down. I'm not asking you to forgive him, she said. I'm asking you to remember what you built. I do remember, I said. I remember the tuition payments, the insurance, the dental bills, the vacations, the cars, the birthdays. I remember carrying him through every hard year while his real father dropped in for one weekend and got called Dad like he earned it. I remember the silence. Yours. Every time I was dismissed, undermined, ignored. I remember financing a family that treated me like a stranger. She flinched. That's not fair. It's not about fair. It's about truth. She moved closer. He's sorry. No, I said. He's scared. There's a difference. I can make him apologize. You can't make him mean it. She didn't reply. I was loyal, I said. Beyond what was rational. Beyond what was healthy. And you let me be. You watched me drain myself for a boy who mocked me. And you told yourself it was love. But it wasn't. It was utility. Tears ran down her face now. I need time, she said. We need time. We can fix this. No, I said. You had time. You had years. She stepped forward, reached for my hand. I pulled back. I'm done paying for love, I said. Especially when it comes with terms. She nodded. Once. Slowly. Then turned and walked to her car. She didn't look back. The following week, Evan called. The number popped up. I didn't answer. Let it go to voicemail. Hey, I messed up. I was stupid. I didn't mean it like that. I don't know why I said what I said. I was showing off. I was mad. I thought it didn't matter. I didn't think you'd leave. He paused. I get it now. I think that you were the one holding everything up. I didn't see it then, but I do now. I'm sorry. Another pause. If you ever want to talk, or anything, I'm here. He hung up. I deleted the message, not out of anger, but because I knew what it was. A reaction to consequence. A desperate bid to rewind the clock without offering the one thing that was ever truly mine to ask for, respect. And I no longer accepted payments in fear. Weeks passed. Life settled into its new shape. Quieter, smaller, realer. No more forced smiles. No more financial acrobatics. No more convincing myself that love would grow from obligation. I paid my own bills, cooked my own meals, slept without tension in the bed I once shared. Melissa didn't return. Evan didn't write again. Eventually, their silence matched mine. The house grew still, but it didn't feel empty. Felt owned. For the first time, I was no one's stepfather. No one's backup. No one's fool. Just a man. Alone. Whole. And maybe that was always the end of this road. Not reconciliation. Not revenge. Just distance. The space required for dignity. So I ask you, whoever hears this, was I wrong? Was it wrong to walk away from a family that used me? To stop paying the toll for a road that never led home? Would you have endured it? Would you still be standing at that table, listening to the laughter, pretending it was fine? Or would you, like me, finally understand that love without respect is slavery, and sometimes the only way to be free is to disappear?